Hi everyone, this is a 10-10 portal energy reading for the Twin Flame and Divine Collective Divine Connection Collective. Apparently those words are interchangeable. Man, these times, I know I feel like I say this all the time. I didn't think we could get any more intense, but here we are. So I'm going to talk a bit about the energies and the messages that came through for and about the collective. And then I'm going to pull cards because I love the way the cards deliver an additional energy. And then for my Patreons or anyone who wants to subscribe or buy the video, I'm going to do separate videos for the feminines and the masculines. Not like a separate video for each one, but now I don't know what I'm going to get with this camera. I might be muffled a bit. I'm hoping it doesn't move like it did the last time. If it does, I apologize profusely. It's above me, so I can't actually see what it's doing. The way that we're breaking down certain things is so intense right now, and I know that there's a lot of different variations and belief systems about the 10-10 portal, and I'm just going to give you what came through, and y'all can do whatever you want with it. So 10 to me will always be a transitionary number. It's 1 for new beginnings, yes. 1 for the self. 0 is an amplification of the energy. And I can't think of a better way to describe the way we've been feeling, but I feel like it's at its peak, right? We're hitting the peak and then we're going to not descend, but ascend, whatever. You know, when you go over a hill and you start walking down and it's, you know, essentially a bit easier than climbing up a hill. But so these are the messages that came through. I have my trusty dusty notes here. Love is still in the dark, and so is any action, but action is actually on the precipice of coming to light. So it's actually on the we're actually on the precipice. Let's just make up words. We are on the precipice of taking action, of being initiated to take action in both counterparts, okay? Self-transitional phase. So the peak of the transition, personal exploration will come easily at this time and through creative outlets. And so will many financial manifestations. Manifestations of love, not so much. Manifestations of financial stability, absolutely. It'll tend to come through creative means. So either doing things in a creative new way that excite you, or actually allowing yourself to create something without an outcome, and that the flow of that energy is manifesting financial stability, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, it's going to be different for everyone, but it is a very potent time. We are, as a collective, on an energetic level, still working to unravel the conditions around love. We feel it and we sense it, but we have a hard time pinning it down right now. On an emotional level, we are clearing out the past pain or painful memories from the past that we've been holding deep in ourselves. This is not only from this lifetime, although this will feel the most fresh. This is also from past lives, like echoes of energy that make us feel, but isn't actually happening in real time. Sometimes you may find your mind gets caught up in the pain and tries to create or define the future from this place, but it really just tends to amplify the pain. So, for example, my masculine's never shown up for me, he's never going to, right? That's taking the past pain of him never showing up or her never showing up and projecting it onto the future as if they never will. And all that does is amplify the pain and make it feel like it's real in this moment. But the energy from the past cannot create a future. So don't fear that. The energy works differently now. So this isn't saying if you buy into that and you go to that place, that's the future you're going to create. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's going to amplify the pain that you're in. And in the awareness of that, you can detach from that reality, from that perception, and allow the pain to move through and dissipate. As a collective, we are being asked to lean into our knowing and faith, to have the courage to walk a path unknown without knowing how it will unfold, to have faith and trust in ourselves and in our soul's calling. It's interesting because my mind wanted to be like, we have to have faith in our counterparts. They're not asking us to do that. Even in our counterparts, like, they're not asking them to have faith in us. They're asking everyone to have faith in themselves and let that path lead to that reconnection. It's not that our counterparts aren't trustworthy. It's not that we aren't trustworthy to our counterparts. It's just that the past pain and emotion right now is making it hard to swallow that pill. So they're just saying, don't worry about that. Lean into what you know to be true about yourself and that you can handle anything, right? It's so weird. I'm such sharp pains and stiffness in the neck as we release that resistance of loving ourselves and trusting ourselves. So it's a vulnerable path and maybe even a scary one, but we have the light of 1,000 suns to light our way. We just have to turn on the light. We just have to lean into the light. The physical world and social media at large can't really bring us the information we seek to make the safe bet. We have to bet on ourselves and this love in our hearts. That's the only way we're truly going to see this through, even though all of our conditioning and programming and survival instincts are telling us, not to make a fool out of yourself for love. That's just old shit that we got to leave behind, because you can't really make a fool out of yourself for love. People tend to make a fool out of themselves for all kinds of reasons, but that's just somebody's perception of the situation. It's not the truth. Okay. Well, I feel we are on the other side of this really big obstacle that we've just moved through. The hardest part energetically seems to be over. We still have a little work to do with the strengthening of our resolve and self-confidence as individuals. Where we once found validation and acceptance outside of us, this will dwindle, forcing us to honor our truth at all costs. So I feel there's this concept that once twin flames join in union, that the world at large will validate them and accept them for the path they've chosen. And while inwardly union activates and creates acceptance between counterparts, it may actually agitate those who are in pain due to the absence of love in their life. So we're actually strengthening ourselves for union, and the way in which it may ostracize ourselves from people who feel love is painful because it's been absence. It's sort of like if you've ever been really thirsty and or you're like really hungry and you eat and it hurts a little bit at first because you've gone without for a while. Anyways, so to me, it makes sense that we are detaching more and more from the outside influence and being guided to expand our potential from the heart versus the mind, and the ways in which we've been conditioned to find belonging. I know for me, waking up to this connection gave me a sense of belonging with another human being I had never felt before and haven't felt since. And there's a reason for that. And it's not because of all of these psychiatric definitions and the way that people behave. This is not something I went looking for. This is not something that I attached myself to. It was always a part of me that was then exposed in the outside world to me, okay? And I'm sure you all feel the same way. So I'm going to pull cards now, but in the extended, I'm going to break down the energy that's happening for the divine feminine and what that means. Just the energy that's happening with your counterpart and the world at large and all of these things that are happening. And then for the divine masculines, I'm going to break down their awakening right now, what they're going through in this awakening process. Okay. And the link's in the description box below. All right, let's see what we've got here. And I just ask that we are given any guidance or information that we need for our highest light and resonance at this time. Okay. Okay, yeah, we've got connections and letting go of urgency. I do feel that. Like when I lean into it, they're like, it's not time yet. And even when I was channeling the stuff for the divine feminines and the divine masculines, like it makes so much sense. It's just, as much as we want it to be time right now, it's not time yet. And I don't know if any of you feel this way. I don't know if we could truly handle the intensity of the purge the masculine is going through in person and in all the energies around them. There is so much shifting. As isolating as this is, it's actually protecting us and our sensitivity, okay? This doesn't mean if you're in contact with your man, it doesn't mean they're going to stop contact. It has nothing to do with that. It's just, there's something, it's just not, even, even some of the divine counterparts that are like in each other's lives, like that's actually a little bit of the harder road, because it's such an interesting dynamic, and there's no right or wrong way to this journey. Okay. It doesn't matter how everybody signed up to go through it in a different way. There is no wrong way to go about this. But in a way, being in physical presence with your person is great when there's activations and there's a level of balance, but when there's disruption and it just kind of ricochets, it's a little bit harder to process. But I do feel just because it isn't time. Yeah, this is interesting. I keep getting the elemental cards, but just because it isn't time doesn't mean that what you feel in your heart to be true isn't going to happen. And I think for a lot of us, there's a really big breakdown in recognizing the way in which we perceive time to be a validator. Like, if something doesn't happen by this time, I must have been wrong about it. But that's just conditioning. That's what you've been conditioned to believe, but that's not inherently true. And I think some of us are going through that experience so that we can break through. Let me just see where the cards are. Okay, so let's move this over. So we can actually release any ideation that's like, I think through this experience and all the disappointments, and we're actually dismantling our expectations that we have based on what we've been taught is true and is not. Like, we're reestablishing our belief systems through the recognition, like that, like to think that you could be wrong about this love because it hasn't manifested in the way that it quote unquote should manifest is entirely a ridiculous notion. At the same time, it's something that comes so easily to us and so innocently to us in thinking. So I think there's a huge breakdown in even our belief systems about how this is all going to transpire, and letting go of trying to say, well, if it manifests, if this union doesn't happen by this time, then I'm, like all these things. And we're also dismantling any belief of impossibility. So the funny thing about the nature spirits being here, this card means something else completely different. But it's really hard to believe that fairies exist if you don't see them. But we know in our hearts that fairies exist. We know that energy exists even though we can't see it. So there's something here shifting and letting go of the need to measure something or quantify something by time. I get stuck in this too. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm above this in any capacity, because it's been 6 years for me. But the love hasn't gone anywhere. It's not some fixation that I'm attached to as a part of my identity. I have an identity. I have a life, so to speak. I don't know if anybody really feels like they're living life. At least the past 4 years feel like maybe we're not really living life, but going through this massive shift. And so there's something here. And what happens, I feel, in this energy is we harden our heart when we feel stupid for engaging in this, if we can't prove it to other people, if it hasn't come to fruition, if, this idea that anything like this could be a waste. And if you reflect back on your journey, there's absolutely no waste with it, right? But there's still that part of us that needs to be dismantled. And I love that we have the sensitivity and strength, because the same thing is happening with the masculines. They're so geared. It's so weird because these cards don't move, but that white clock up there on the tree is kind of doing this. I don't know what that's about, but I feel like the masculines are so entrenched in all of these old energies that they're stuck in this place too. But in their own sensitivity and softening to themselves and being what they need, because there isn't anyone in their life that can help them with what they need. There's something, same with the feminine, softening to the flow, softening to letting go of the urgency. The urgency creates this hardening dynamic that we don't have any control over. If we could control this, it wouldn't be what it is. Okay, let's face it, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to pull some more cards. But if we could control this, we wouldn't be here right now. So even all the people that are like, if you just clear your energy and clean up your stuff, your person will be in your life. That's not how it works. And I get this all the time with the masculines. They know it's not time. They know when and I'm going to talk more about that in the extended, because that came up today. They know. On some level, they probably can't articulate it, but they know instinctively what timing is. And so here's what I want to talk about when we think about needing to manifest something because we need it or we want it, which is completely normal and completely okay. But when it comes to relationships, I have an allergy to manipulation. I love that reference my friend Carrie gave me. She said, I have an allergy to this. I'm like, oh, I like that. So I have an allergy to manipulation. And I see all of these women and men trying to manipulate people to be with them because they don't fully have the confidence to trust that someone will love them as they are. And I feel that's another condition around love, another barrier to love, a resistance to love. Because when I talk to people sometimes, well, they're like, yeah, but you have to you have to do certain things to get certain things. And I'm like, I'm a big fan of if somebody does something of their own volition, because there's an altruism to that. There's an authenticity to that. I don't want my masculine to come into my life because he has to, because I'm an obligation, because I'm a duty. I want him to come into my life because he wants to come into my life. There is something really beautiful about that. So even in this essence of us understanding that they will be better off with us, forcing them to do it kind of negates that. So I think this whole manifesting people, and it's if you're let's say you're starting off a business or you're doing a project and you want to connect with the right people and you put it out there, bring me the right person for this job. You're not actually forcing someone out of obligation or duty, right? Like you're connecting in a different way, but manifesting a romantic partner, and I know that there's some people like, well, your masculine wants it, they just don't know it. I'm like, but wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be amazing when they do know it and they want it and they go for it? Wouldn't that be so empowering? To me, it's just, I know it's a preference. It brings up a little bit of helplessness because there's no control with it, but I don't know. I think we're really coming into a different space. Okay, so yeah. I kind of love, I've been getting this card a lot, okay? And this is the 10 of Wands, but this energy is like I'm packing my bags and I'm getting the F out of Dodge, okay? We're no longer willing to set up camp in the places that make us feel like we belong from a very false sense of safety, okay? Let's get one more here. Yeah. Oops. Okay. What are we willing to sacrifice? Because it's going to feel like a sacrifice. When you live in a state of all or nothing, which predominantly this world is built on, where you need to sacrifice for love or whatever, makes you feel like you're sacrificing. What are we willing to sacrifice to lean into this, to lean into this, to lean into this? What swords are we willing to put down? What guard are we willing to let down in order to build a new legacy and co-create with our counterparts? Okay, what are we willing to grieve and let go of in order to fully embrace our energetic power, our path in this life, our creativity, the ability to dance with life? Like, I think that's what's breaking down, and it's hard to fathom because we've utilized these rules of the road for so long that it's inherently difficult to go about it in another way that isn't really tried, tested, and true. But we kind of have no choice because we don't want to feel the crap anymore. We don't want to feel like there isn't love, right? We want to feel the love. So I don't know. I think this is like the spark of inspiration. I'm gonna do this kind of how I did my, the message that I got from my masculine that I think I posted a couple days ago. I'm gonna do it a little bit like this. So the Ace of Wands to the Ten of Wands. Let's just make this a little interesting. Okay, because we have the spark of an idea and then moving on to something else, right? Yeah, we've got the balance of karma, which we engage with when it happens, but we don't actually control when karma closes out. These contracts are ancient, right? And some things need time in order to establish permanence, and that's what we're going through. So we have karmic closure. As they're closing out, do you see how the eyes are open, right, at the bottom, but they're closed? This is awake within us, okay? When this wakes up, when her eyes open up above the sword, okay, in the physical reality, not just the energetic inner world, we have it's time to move on. It's time, not from the connection, but move on from the beliefs in our life that dampen our spark, okay? That can come in all kinds of forms. From the Ten of Wands to the Ten of Pentacles, we have quick movement, moving out of an old legacy into a new one. And I've said this before. I said this in my last, I did a post on Instagram, I think, where I said that when things turn, they will turn very quickly. Like, this feels like it's been dry. I feel like I've lived like 4 different lifetimes in the past 4 years. I've lived so many lifetimes. It's been slow, this closing out, because it has a purpose, right? It needs permanence, so it's slow. But once that's done, it's gonna move quickly. Like, things are gonna move quickly. So let's look at the Ten of Pentacles to the Page of Wands. Yeah. We're establishing a healthy sense of balance so we can go out and put ourselves into the world in a completely different way, in a way that isn't going to deregulate us or dysregulate our nervous system, if you will. I kind of love this because we're cleaning out anything that's going to disrupt our flow of movement, okay? Yeah. Okay, what's interesting with this Knight of Cups, I think this is going to open up a whole bunch of new doors. Now, for some of you are going to come into union over here, okay? Some of you are going to come into union here, and some of you are going to come into, like, your person's going to come in and be like, let's do this together, okay? Some of you are like, okay, let's do this together, and then opening doors to things that... When I talk to clients who, it's such an interesting thing. When I talk to clients who reconnect with their masculines in the physical, things expand for them as individuals, okay? So I don't know how that's going to, it's going to be different for everyone, but these are union timelines that we're stepping into, and they're going to happen quickly and in succession. I do believe the world's not ready for all twin flames to come together, because that's a huge influx of energy that the mass public is not quite ready for. But it's going to integrate, because when it has a ripple effect, right? In the energy of the people in your life that goes out to others and so on and so forth. So it's interesting. Okay, so from the Three of Pentacles, look at that. This is an anchoring of self-love, an anchoring of the heart expansion, the gamma field, the frequency of the heart, opening up to the flow and magic of energy and emotional. This is a very emotionally healthy place. We're moving out of all the shitty emotions now, so we can handle. There's just not going to be the same kind of interference. That's like when I say things like, you have no idea what this relationship is going to be like, I don't mean it's going to be some like random alien like concept of a relationship. I mean the conflicts and the disagreements and the butting of all that stuff is not going to exist. It doesn't exist in this flow of energy. We're clearing all of that out now, okay? And you're like, oh my God, it's going to take forever. We've always been clearing it out. Since you woke up to this connection and went into the deep dive of the transition, we have been working to clear this out, okay? So the Queen of Cups to the Five of Cups is patience, okay? We're going to need some patience. We can feel, here's the really interesting thing. As a collective, we can feel this energy on the inside, but it's not quite manifested on the outside. We don't actually live this every day. But it's going to require some patience for us while we close out these old chapters, cry about the past, let the feelings come. There's all kinds of things breaking us out of these old molds so that we can live in the light of our heart. So I hope that this has helped you guys. My ears are so hot right now. I'm sending you all so much love, and take care.